Hello to all my guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to Gaming Nest News, where we provide you the power-ups to get through quarantine. My name is Sarah Jewell, and this week we will be fulfilling all the gaming dreams your child self has ever had. We have one of our collaborators here, Avius, opening up our show this week with the League of Legends mid-season Showdown preview. Avius, take it away.
Hi everyone, it's Trent Avey, back again to bring you some of the biggest esports news and updates of the week. Today, we're talking League of Legends, specifically the LCS, which is headed into its first ever mid-season showdown this weekend. The LCS has seen a huge change to its competitive format this year, with a new preseason tournament and an extra day of games each week. We'll get to see yet another major modification to the standard format this weekend. Since the LCS is no longer operating on a two-split system and records persist throughout the year, the new tournament is officially taking the place of regular spring playoffs. Instead of crowning a new spring split champion, the mid-season showdown will count as its own unique LCS title, and the winner of the event will book their ticket to MSI this May, the first international event of the year. Along with these changes come a new bracket structure, one that mirrors playoffs across the pond in LEC. The tournament will start with the top 4 seeds duking it out in a best of 5, with the losers of those matches headed to the lower bracket. There, they'll take on the 5th and 6th seeds, where teams will look to make a run to the grand finals. So now that we've got a rundown of the new tournament style, let's look at which teams will be battling it out. Right from the start, this could be one of the closest brackets the LCS has ever had. The top 6 teams are all within 3 wins of one another, with Cloud9 leading the pack at 13-5, and Evil Geniuses bringing up the rear at 10-8. Starting at the top is the aforementioned Cloud9, who are shaping up to be a pre-tournament favorite. Dominating the early season of the LCS, jungler Blabber earned recognition early as a potential MVP candidate. However, the Blue and White had a bit of a falling off in the last 2 weeks, with a 3-3 record and dropping games to their main competition at the top. We'll have to see if they've been figured out, or if they were just limit testing once they secured their top 6 spot. Speaking of that main competition, TSM was able to turn their split around and closed out in second place with a 12-6 record. TSM has a heavy focus on scaling, letting Power of Evil carry from the mid lane in the late game with picks like Victor and Azir. It's a strategy that has worked for them, letting them take wins off both Team Liquid and Cloud9, even when they face early game deficits. Time will tell if that strategy can hold up in a best of 5. In third place is Team Liquid, who narrowly avoided their 4th place curse. Although they had the same record as TSM at 12-6, they are placed under them due to tiebreaker rules. But the squad is nothing to scoff at. As the lock-in winners, they are the last of the top 3 that people are counting on to win the whole thing. Specifically, watch out for their top laner Alphari, who has been one of the strongest performing players in the LCS so far, and is the favorite for MVP. With a plus 300 gold differential in the top lane, if anyone is going to be the TL win condition, it's gonna be him. Bringing up the rear of the upper bracket is 100 Thieves, who fans aren't expecting much out of. The team had a lackluster second half of the split, with their playstyle falling out of meta. The decline was so bad the team opted to sub out Demonte and replace him with Academy mid laner Ryoma, just to get a better grasp on the new meta. While they're looking a little stronger as of the last week, it's hard to be excited about them now as we were at the start of the year. In 5th is Dignitas, who has been the biggest surprise in the LCS this year. No one expected this team to be able to perform without an import player, but they locked in a spot in the top half of teams thanks to a roster with a sum that's greater than its parts. No one knows where this team will end up, but Dig, NA, TOS fans are hoping for more upsets. Finally, there's Evil Geniuses, one of the wildest teams in the league, led by Jizuke and Svenskeren. EG may have some of the most explosive games. On the other side of that coin though, they also have some of the most implosive games. It's hard to know which type of EG we'll get day to day, but if they're on, other playoffs teams need to watch out. And there we have it, the overall playoffs pictures and what you need to be watching. We'll see TSM challenge Team Liquid and Cloud9 take on 100 Thieves this weekend, and watch how the tournament progresses from there. Until then, keep watching here at Nest, follow our socials for all your gaming, pop culture, and esports updates, and you have a great week. Let's send it back to our host, Sarah.
Thank you, Avius, always bringing us quality content. Next, we head to Richard, who is covering something I am particularly interested in, the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes. Richard, give us those deets.
Nintendo held their very first Direct in a very long time. And one of those most exciting items that came up was the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes. Or should I say reskins? We'll come back to that in a minute, but Diamond and Pearl were part of my favorite generation of Pokemon games. These games elevated the gameplay to amazing levels, and added this beautiful mystery to the series which was never really touched on again. And the pixel art was simply divine for the medium at the time it came out. The DS era of games was unique and had this beautiful sense of unity. We got so much out of these games. And these DS Pokemon games performed amazingly compared to the generation preceding it. Nothing could top Pokemania in the late 90s, but it wouldn't be until 2013 that Pokemon would perform as well as these games did. Diamond and Pearl brought Pokemon back to the limelight. New players got to experience a beautiful, sprawling region with all kinds of wonderful new Pokemon. And some old ones mixed in so it didn't feel too unfamiliar. Old players could tell there was thought put into every single moment of the game. More than 10 years have passed since those games were released, and with time, those games have continued to hold dear to those who got to play them, myself included. I have been clamoring for the entirety of that decade for a remake. And when the Pokemon Company was releasing remakes of Red and Blue, of Gold and Silver, and eventually Ruby and Sapphire, it was absolutely inevitable that we would see Diamond and Pearl get their own retellings. And then they put out a short look at the new remake coming this fall for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Good Lord. This was not what fans were expecting at all. The player looks like a Funko Pop. And that's not meant to be a compliment toward the world's least favorite vinyl toy company. In a huge step backwards, they decided that creating what looks like a reskin of the original games is the appropriate move for this beloved entry. It seems like it's even more of a step backwards than the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire. This disappointing look at my personal favorite Pokemon games is leaving a bitter and sour taste. After seeing just what else the games have done in the past with X and Y and Sun and Moon, they had brought the level for these remakes to hit the current generation on a fantastic note. And right now, it feels like a bad joke. Or like they don't care that millions of fans want to see this Pokemon game brought back in a more current style, something a little more, I don't know, pleasing to the eyes. And a lot of us had wished super hard that they would remake Diamond and Pearl, and that monkey's paw certainly curled a finger. It's a nightmare that I wish I could just wake up from, and I have been very, very vocal in wanting this game for over a decade, and I might not even buy this one, simply because of the art style. The Pokemon games have been decreasing in some quality in the last few entries, and this just takes the cake. But hey, at least the underground's back. Gotta mine some shards and evolution stones, I guess, and ignore the impending artistic doom setting in all around us. At least it's snowing in this one, I guess. I'll take that. That'd be nice. Oh, Pokemon. You've fallen so far.
Thanks for the awesome clip, Richard. And speaking of clips, we are looking for some clips and highlights to show off what our viewers and community can create. You can take those videos and send them to info@nesthq.online. That's info@nesthq.online. It's always truly a treat to see awesome content from our community. Thank you for the submissions. And leading into our next submission, we have David on dynamic music in games. Take it away, David.
Last week we talked about Steep and the tranquility of it compared to most other games out there. Now I'm going to talk about it again, and you're going to sit there and you're going to like it and you're going to follow, subscribe, or thumbs up or whatever. It doesn't even matter to me. But I'll be fair. I'm going to meet you halfway. I won't talk specifically about the game again, but I want to mention something that is related but completely underappreciated and basically goes unnoticed in most games. I first noticed it in Hitman when it first came out. It's basically when you perform certain actions, I was getting myself sucked into a universe that I didn't think was quite possible. So what am I exactly talking about? Dynamic music. To help you understand dynamic music, it's also known as adaptive music. It's basically the difference between music just playing when a level starts, such as these two examples. So looking at an example like this, basically we start off with no music, and then as soon as we hit the kind of level start, I guess you could say, or in this case the challenge, the music starts to play. Now, it's not particularly any type of music, and it's going to change as you're going to see in the next example anyways, but basically what happens is an event was triggered. In this case, I started a challenge and music started to play. Now, in this next portion here, the music was already playing, but will change as soon as I trigger the challenge again, which basically allows for maybe an atmosphere or kind of attitude change while playing a level, but doesn't really get you involved with it. Music can set the tone and can make or break certain games sometimes. In this case, Steep is pretty forgiving and is pretty free range, so it doesn't really matter particularly if there is music playing or if there isn't, if it's, hard rock or some sort of pop that sounds like it's from MTV. What really matters is that it just kind of fits the overall tone of the game, and Steep has a very good soundtrack for that. However, when the pop music plays or the copyrighted music plays, usually it just kind of plays on its own and doesn't really add too much other than entertainment value, if anything. Okay, I promise I'm gonna show you some other games here, but just bear with me on Steep here. So I'm gonna have to shut up in a second, but basically if you listen to music right now, as I slow down, the music pace changes. My character will then move forward and start accelerating again, and you hear the music pace change again. Here we slow down again. And again, the music will change pace. Every time an action is taken by myself, the player, or in this case, like kind of the controller of this character, it really engrosses you in knowing that your actions have feedback, which is actually a critical portion of design. Now, I'll be releasing a whole thing on product design and game design, and just basically I'll give you the cliff notes or the synopsis of what I'm talking about. Now, when you're designing a product, you really always want to have feedback. Like, for example, when you flick a switch, you can feel that kind of click usually. If it's one of the flat surfaced ones, you can feel that click. If it's one of the kind of sticks that hang out a little bit, you can hear that kind of flick of that light switch, and that gives you feedback. And you might be wondering what that has anything to do with this. It's because every single action you take in a game is almost double verified by that music and the character's movement. Instead of it just being the character moving and you just seeing your actions have effect, music absolutely engrosses you into that world. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean, because Steep is just one example. Again, I mentioned Hitman was the big one. Watch what happens when we watch Hitman. So just in order to kind of give your ears a bit of a palate cleanse of sorts, let's just listen to the theme of Hitman for a quick second. Just get a feel for it, kind of review it and understand it so you can kind of get in that mode, because it's a lot different of a feel than Steep was. So, while starting your first mission in Paris, you decide to skip the training missions because, you know, why bother? Although I will just say the training missions are kind of fun. It basically just starts out like any game would. There is a cinematic orchestra, well done, nothing wrong with that. It really sets the tone, the mood, everything like that. It's a high-value production. But it's static music. It's not being affected by anything that I'm doing. It just kind of is. And that's fine. That's the basic of video game music. But let's watch this particular action in which I, for Agent 47, decide to kind of sneak around a guard. Did you hear it? You have to have heard that. Let's just kind of go through that one again real quick. So, Agent 47 climbs the fence, he makes the landing, and then you have that kind of espionage spy music that plays. That is a direct action from your action. That is the feedback that I'm talking about. Let me show you another more exciting example. Okay, so here we're gonna kind of watch my almost failed attempt to strangle a technician here. So as you can hear, the music kind of builds up and you get this tension. And then basically as soon as you complete your action, the music changes, the tone shifts, everything about it. It becomes a bit more suspenseful. You really start feeling like you're in this. And then once the disguise change happens, it calms down. Just in case you didn't quite catch that, let's just watch this example. Tame music, upbeat, a little bit more suspenseful, again. Changes with your actions. Your actions cause that music to shift. If you were to even do something a little bit more hostile, like, I don't know, let's say throw an axe at somebody's head, then you're going to get a completely different sound, and especially if you're going to be caught, it's definitely going to feel a little bit more on the actiony side. At the exact same time, while this is going on, and let's say you try to sneak away, the music that plays is still fairly dynamic, and once you get further away from that danger, it starts kind of becoming a little bit more suspenseful rather than more kind of action oriented, which completely immerses you into that level. If you were to look at static music, sometimes it works as well to get you involved in that environment. For example, for the Sanguine party that we go to, we have the main runway, which has its own music. And then you have the kind of bar area for, you know, socializing and everything. It's got lower tempo music and everything like that. It gets you in that environment. Now, my personal favorite, though, is the dynamic music when these actions play. So let's just listen to this one out. So as I fumble around with my keyboard because my controller was dead and I couldn't remember the keys to it, so I look like a bit of a goober here, but basically, during this entire sequence, you're going to notice the music changes. It's actually a mix of the static music that's playing in the game already, just kind of setting the atmosphere there, and then also this dynamic music of the actions kind of that I'm taking or the areas that I'm going into. This also happens too, I know when 47 climbs a pipe, it gets kind of into this kind of espionage sounding music, but overall the music always keeps changing, even when the targets get close to you. Almost like kind of boss music, but at the same time it's not really meant to warn you of a boss kind of incoming. It's more to just get you in that moment of suspense and make it feel like you're in an actual like movie, like you're the movie star, and the actions that you take, again, have feedback. It really immerses you into a whole new level of gameplay rather than just kind of having the same music play no matter what happens, whether there's, you know, a gunfight going on or you're stealthing around. And that's what I actually love about it. And Payday 2 also, I should say, has that type of music. They have the stealth, they have the anticipation, and then they have the actual like police raid that happens, you know, the high adrenaline music that goes on, which also makes it a great game to get immersed in because it kind of sets the tempo, it sets the mood, it gets you involved. And here we're actually going to watch how the music kind of changes as soon as the target gets close to you, which actually adds a lot more tension to it, that moment. Honestly, I could probably talk about Hitman and show you tons of more clips in regard to the gameplay relating to the music and just how engrossing it really is, but I feel like I need to move on to something else and show you as well, Battlefield 1. Now, you might be thinking, it doesn't really have any music that plays in it, and to a certain extent you would be correct. Now, Battlefield 1 doesn't use static music per se, but they kind of don't use adaptive music either. It's less based on your actions and more based on what's happening in the actual game itself. So for example, regardless of what you do, you're not probably going to be able to change the music. How the music changes is when your team is winning or losing or bringing in a behemoth. It really kind of encapsulates that epic moment of either victory or loss, whatever the case might be. And with that, Battlefield 1 actually kind of really gives you a more cinematic feel. Maybe not perhaps that you're controlling the music or the movie itself, but it makes you feel like you're in something kind of epic, in something big, in something massive. And for that to be in a game like Battlefield 1 really shows kind of the effort that somebody went to add that sort of feature, because otherwise usually games like these are very run and gun, silent, maybe a little bit of music once the victory is happening, but this actually, you know, adds that tension, because I know when the ticket count runs down, or in this case we're playing operations, the music completely changes into this more urgent, epic battle that you could either win or lose, doesn't really matter whether you're doing a defense or an offense. And with that, it really does kind of get your mind going, thinking like, okay, this is it, this is our last stand, we have to win this and we really have to push through. And it really does give some great moments and tension, and especially with all the action that's going on in Battlefield 1, with planes flying over, dropping bombs on your head, tanks running all over the place, horses trying to slice you up, you know, infantrymen shooting rifles, submachine guns, and other steampunky weapons at you. It just adds so much value, and I think it's the most underappreciated aspect in a lot of games. Some people might just turn it off because they just don't care, but for me, I love it. It's an indicator, and it's not cheesy like just having a boss music level or just having it happen when somebody gets close to you, because I don't want that. I want it to be kind of affected by actions either completely out of my control or by actions in my control. And what I mean by completely out of my control, I basically mean this is a whole team game, so I can't control exactly how the battlefield is going to either sway in my favor or out of it. I'm only one soldier in a battalion of all these others. So it really does help that this music kind of helps you feel like, okay, we all have to push. We're all in this together, and it gives you that kind of communal feeling of victory or loss. Either way, I think Battlefield 1, Hitman, and Steep integrated music so beautifully and so seamlessly that it absolutely increases all gaming experiences, and I really do hope to see this happen more in games. I know it's difficult probably to integrate, and it's definitely something that, you know, requires an excellent maybe orchestra or, you know, artists to basically render, but once it's done, it is beautiful, it is masterful, and it's just like maintenance. You know, once it's not there, it's appreciated, but once it's there and it's being done, no one really probably notices or appreciates it. But I'm hoping with this video it gives you a bit of an intake and you can actually start to learn to appreciate the music in games. Comment and let us know which game you thought had the best adaptive music. Other than that, I just want to thank you so much for earing me out. Get it? Earing me out? Because we're talking about like music and audio and adaptive music and...
Thank you, David. Quite a dynamic segment. Pun Patrol, come take me now. Anyways, let's head over to our next contributors, Project Supervillain, as they dive into why Marvel's Avengers isn't as hot as it seems. Fill us in, friends.
What's good, everyone? We're your hosts from Project Supervillain. I'm Arc Drifter.
I'm Killboss.
Today we're jumping into some news surrounding Marvel's Avengers, that Square Enix disaster of 2020. One of the many disasters of 2020, but this one kind of went under the radar just because of all the crap that was going down last year. That being said, we're not going to let it go. We remember.
Oh, yeah.
And the controversies actually continue to this day, so we're going to get into that right away.
What's happening to me? I don't feel so good.
Oh, God. No! What did I do? Ah!
Yeah, so Marvel's Avengers. You know, nobody's a stranger to Avengers at this point. It is one of the most popular intellectual properties that has been in the market in the last decade. So you'd figure that a game like Marvel's Avengers would have no trouble selling with millions of people playing, but they fucked it up, so that definitely drove people away. They had a terrible, buggy fucking launch because what live service is actually complete when they come out these days? You know, the classic stuff, lack of content, lack of features. Like I just mentioned, all kinds of bugs. It was not a fun time. Definitely not something you would want to pay $60 for up front, or $90 like us Canadians would have to.
So yeah, Marvel's Avengers, they had such an amazing run in the movies. We saw such terrific success with each and every one of the films, including Marvel's Endgame, which was, what, 2019, I think?
Yeah, it was like the highest grossing film ever.
Yeah, pretty much. And how could you follow up a video like with the video game and have it do so poorly? Well, we're gonna tell you how. Square Enix did the correct formula in how to not do a Marvel's Avengers game. So we're gonna look at it. This is like a how to not do a video game for dummies or something like that. So let's just jump into that. And one of the next problems we want to talk about too was the battle passes and the problem with them. They, instead of just doing a normal battle pass like most people do, like Fortnite did, where one battle pass, you get that stuff over the time. That was a pretty well done battle pass, but we've got Avengers here doing a battle pass per hero. So now here's the thing: you can play the game and you can unlock all this stuff naturally. You can. It is an insane grind, though. You have to play a lot of time just to get this stuff, just to get one item. So naturally, you're being pushed to just buy into the stuff to get all the stuff right away. Who wants to spend all that time grinding when you can just, you know, pay $5 and get all of it right there? That's the thing. They put way too much into the grind of the game, and that's why they pushed for this battle pass to have like such a high cost. It's like $10 per hero, and yeah, you unlock stuff way quicker, but why would you spend that much money?
Look, there's like 6 heroes to start off with. Like, that was just at the beginning, so that's like an extra $60 if you want the battle pass for every single hero. And you know damn well that all those cosmetics that they cut out from there were all things that were originally in the game. They were cut out from the main game, and don't tell me they weren't. Like, when you got content like that to drop on day one, but your game is barren of anything worthwhile, you know there's some fucking stupid shit going on behind the scenes. Again, there are some free unlockables, but the grind to get them is fucking unacceptable. That has definitely contributed to the game underperforming, because nobody wants to play a game where you have to spend like 40 hours grinding for something.
It's just too much time. It demands way too much time. These games aren't fun. When a game's compelling you to come back, but only because you're gonna not get enough currency to move up on your character, or because you feel like you're gonna miss out on something, that's not fun. It's not a good reason to come back to the game.
No, and that's why it's been hemorrhaging players since its launch, because everybody bought the game and was just like, and like that was it. Like, there was nothing to look forward to. Again, the combat is super uninspired. It's very grindy, and until you get to those later levels, it really doesn't start to become that fun. So it's inconceivable to think that they would try to make this even more grindy, because that's what they did. They took an already grindy system and they increased the grind for leveling up, and it's fucked.
That's essentially the news we have for you guys today, because this stuff that we just talked about, that's like previous stuff. This is stuff you should know by now. If you don't, then you're caught up now. But essentially what they've done recently is they've decided to up the grind of the game. They made it harder to level up for your characters. So that means you need to put more time into the game. Their excuse was so bullshit, too. They had this stupid corporate bullshit excuse that essentially was just a cover for, we want more money, and we want you guys to play our game more. But it's not going to happen because people aren't falling for it this time.
I ain't drinking that fucking Kool-Aid. Fuck that. They were just trying to claim that, players are leveling up too fast and it's becoming confusing and overwhelming for them, that they don't have enough time to review and apply their skills and actually test them out before going on their next mission. Some people were saying they were leveling up 3 or 4 times in a mission that takes about 10 to 20 minutes. Again, I don't see a problem there. I really don't see a problem, especially when your game is so content bare and you have nothing else to look forward to. I should at least be able to enjoy the gameplay by increasing my character's level and getting their combat stats up to the max, where apparently the game does become more enjoyable. But no, they did increase the amount of XP that you get for the lower levels, but once you get to level 25 it starts to slow down drastically. And they were like, yeah, we want leveling to be meaningful and stuff like that, and it's like, wow, that sounds like EA's pride and accomplishment excuse. It's almost the fucking same thing.
And you know what? This is probably gonna really, and it already has started to impact like the live service model for some of these paid games. I think the live service model is here to stay for definitely the free-to-play games. There's no doubt about it. But like for some of these games that cost $80 and also have a live service model, who knows if that's going to continue? And that's actually really good news, because like we don't want this to continue. This is horrible.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck live service games for the most part. I mean, there are good ones out there. I'm not saying it can't be done right, but it seems that almost all the time, especially by AAA publishers, they're exploited to the max and they just become unenjoyable slogs. No content to go through. It's all just about keeping players engaged and making sure that you log on like a good little soldier every single fucking day. And there's just nothing of enjoyment to be had. It's not about having fun. It's about keeping people engaged and spending money. But guess what? No one wants to spend money on a piece of shit, and that's exactly what you have here. So, sorry everybody, sorry Square, sorry fans of Avengers, and sorry to everybody that was looking forward to this game, but I just really couldn't recommend you purchasing it right now. It's just not worth your money. Nope. And with the way that they are mishandling, everything going forward, just making things worse and worse for the people that are still invested in the game, which is a very small number, I just don't see this game lasting for much longer. And again, that is affecting the way that people look at live service models. EA is actually miraculously starting to steer away from them. So yeah, we'll see exactly what that's going to do. But you know what? Live services, I don't mind if they go the way of the dodo.
Same. And I don't want to talk too much shit about this game, because apparently there were some good aspects of it. Namely, I hear the story was, a typical Marvel experience that one would look for. Nothing super crazy. It wasn't groundbreaking or anything, but it was a good story from what I hear. But it was accompanied with kind of grindy combat and stuff, so that's the thing. The combat did get boring and stuff if you weren't a higher level. A lot of things that could have just been like looked at a little bit more on Square Enix's side of things. I kind of feel like this whole thing was just them trying to jerk off the boners that were still going for Marvel. We saw Insomniac take the reins of another Marvel character in Spider-Man. They've had 2 successful games now. The first one and the second, and Miles Morales did wonderfully. Those are good examples of how to do Marvel games. Just do a game like that. I'd love to see an Iron Man game like that. Or a Thor game. A game where you can just go around the whole city. Maybe you go through Asgard as Thor. You can fly around just like that. Crazy combat. Let's just have good Marvel entries. There's so much potential for awesome Avengers games, but it's so squandered for the next few years because of Square Enix. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, I fail to see how you could have a property as rich as Marvel, that universe, and have access to all those characters and somehow still fuck it up and not have enough content to make something awesome. So yeah, they fucked it up. I don't know how this is possible with all that awesome stuff at their disposal, but it's not a very good game. I would not recommend buying it, and thanks, guys, because I'm fucking flaccid now. That's it.
But we're going to take our flaccid penises out of here, and you guys can continue the rest of the show. Hopefully there's some more news that you guys enjoy. This is kind of just, we're in a dry season of news right now, and this is all we've got to talk about right now. So next week, hopefully we'll have a better topic for you. But that's going to be it for today's show, guys. So see you next time.
Beach out.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to Project Supervillain. Always a pleasure. Friends, this is a friendly reminder that we want clips and highlights to show off what our viewers and community can create. You can take these videos and send them to info@nesthq.online. That's info@nesthq.online. It could look like one of these right here.
One's dragon. Three dragon, okay. Yo, this Cade, what a lad. Yeah, one of the Roteros got mute jammed.
Careful, it will just continue doing what it's doing.
It got mute jammed driving.
Right. If the mute jammer stops, it will continue doing what it's doing.
Yes, I'm aware.
Blackbeard.
One connector.
Jammer ready to activate.
There's 2 far. Iana and Blackbeard.
Ah, fucking Blackbeard's still in the connector.
Upstairs or downstairs, do you know?
Everyone is downstairs. They're all in the armory right now. As far as I can tell.
Breaking your ally wasn't very challenging. Where are they?
Weak, okay.
Double Intero.
Mission successful.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up for this week. A big thanks to Avius, Richard, David, and Project Supervillain for the segments this week. And remember to follow us on social media. We have links below in the description and in the corners of the screen. So give us a like and a follow and maybe even subscribe so you can get all the latest updates on our broadcasts, tournaments, and other content. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week. Toodaloo!